All right, amazing. Hi, everyone. Happy Friday. Today we are back on the SEO Leadership webinar, and today you're going to be seeing a new face. Today we have on Faith. She has just joined the SEO for Hire team as well. And preemptively, we also have our guest on today, Deepak Shukla. He is the founder of Pearl Lemon, a seven-figure group. He has been growing Pearl Lemon. It has been such an amazing company. Deepak has given us such an incredible, interesting background on him as well. So today's topics are going to be so interesting. Deepak, how are you doing?
I'm good. Uh, Maybe a bit more nervous after the intro. I'm not a big fan. I think it's quite a big British thing. People in general don't enjoy hearing compliments about themselves. So let's
Oh,
just
wow.
get on. But yeah,
I'm
no,
gonna,
I'm
I'm gonna
good.
keep him going.
Yeah,
Yeah.
don't apologize. No, good. I'm looking forward to it.
Amazing, amazing. So everyone that's listening in, if you have any questions for Deepak as well while we're chatting away, please pop them into the comments below, and we will obviously be checking them out and shooting those questions over to Deepak. So I think if we can get into it with something very easy and just for the listeners in the background to understand a little bit about Pearl Lemon and how you came about. Do you mind telling us about how it started, how you started Pearl Lemon, and yeah, I noticed that there's a lot of interesting branches that Pearl Lemon is branching out into as well. So if you can tell us a little bit about that, that would be great.
Yeah, sure. So Pearl Lemon started in 2016. I think I had my I guess maybe you call it third life breakdown, or you have quarter life or midlife. I
Yeah.
turned 30. I was living in I was in Amsterdam, probably the only person who didn't smoke a thing the entire time I was living there for 3 months. And I turned 30, had a bit of a breakdown on my birthday, got a birthday cake from, I think, a girl that I'd met on couch surfing, and just sitting there thinking, and then just sat by myself in a house share. I think I was in a room by myself in South Amsterdam, just thinking, dude, what are you doing? I've got like a lovely, happy family back at home. And 30 was the age where I thought, okay, I need to kind of stop doing this backpacking traveling thing. I feel like I'm ready to do something serious. That for me was before, the age of TikTok, and everyone who's 17 is apparently a millionaire. Yet
Yeah.
to meet the 17-year-old millionaire, but everyone on TikTok's a 17-year-old millionaire. Apologies to the actual 17-year-old millionaires. I'm sure that you're 17-year-old millionaires. But I spent my 20s traveling, backpacking, just doing different stuff. And the 30, for whatever reason, felt like it was that moment where I thought, I feel like I want to grow up now. So I went back home, and the thing that had made me enough income to get by during that whole period, without even realizing it was marketing.
Mm.
In that, I spent some time running a small tutoring agency. I think I got it up to at one point maybe about £10,000 a month. And then I remember that I decided I wanted to go traveling, and immediately switched off my mobile phone that related to that business for 4 months and just left the business. I thought, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm bored. I want to go
Mm.
travel. So then I
Mm.
just left that. And there were a couple of occasions where I did things like that. And the way that, so I did private tutoring. Then I started the tutoring agency. Then I did like resume writing. Then I'd help people with applications. Then I had a recording studio before that, where I was a sound engineer, my own studio, and then we opened up a second branch. And then I traveled, and I kind of raised some money, about 75, 80 grand. And then I spent that all partying in Lisbon, and the investors got super annoyed, and that didn't end well because I was just like, oh, okay, I raised all this money. I was like, I don't want to do that. I just want to party. So I do that instead. So there was this kind of series of different stuff that I was doing. And the whole period involved like reinventing myself from a marketing and positioning standpoint. Because what I would do was, for example, I was like, okay, I need to present myself as a private tutor. How do I do that? And at that time, having a Facebook like page was a thing, as I saw online, and recording some videos just saying, hey, I'm Deepak. I want to talk you through how we at Gobsmackers, which is the name of the agency, work through tutoring for our students. And so I'd always have this kind of frame where I'd be like, right, let me create 10 videos. Let me set up a Facebook Live page. Let me set up, like, I think I was building a site on Wix, and then I think on Weebly, because they were the no-code
Mm.
site bodybuilders at the time. I don't even know if Weebly's still around anymore. I think Moon Fruit, maybe. I think I built one on also. So I would always kind of just spin up this brand and try and start making some money. And that was prelude in some ways to turning 30 and thinking, well, what's the running thread? Oh, I'm okay at marketing. Let's start a marketing agency and see what happens. So that was how I came back to the UK at 30, and it wasn't called Pearl Lemon at the time, but that's what it would become. But I decided to kind of get serious about marketing. And in many respects, to your point, to bring it back to what you mentioned in terms of the brands, I have SEO is huge for us in terms of it being a vehicle. That's how we'll generate maybe 1,000 inquiries a month. It was always a means to an end, though. I wouldn't call myself someone who runs an SEO agency. We do have SEO clients and we do SEO for our clients, but my interest was always that this is a cool vehicle and I've got all these random interests. How can I kind of combine the two and just build stuff based on personal interests? And that is, for better or for worse, what Pearl Lemon has become.
I love that. What an incredible story. I think adding to this, as I mentioned, like in the intro, you have such an interesting sort of variety of skills and life experiences. One of them is that you were trained with a Georgian Special Forces sniper. So I had a fun question to kind of like transition into this into the next question, which is, as you trained as a Georgian Special Forces sniper, how do you define lethal patients and targeting with your sniper approach to targeting high value SEO leads or even marketing leads with Pearl Lemon?
Sure. Great question. So I think lethal patience is really a synonym for persistence, because good things always take longer than you think. And half of any game is being around to reap the rewards, because we're all constantly running in life and never really knowing, when it comes to entrepreneurship, certainly, where the success is that waits for us. In other parts of our life, it's a little bit more predefined to a degree. Growing up, moving out, getting your first job, building a career, finding a partner, getting married, having a kid, having 2 kids, you kind of know where that road leads. When you set out to build your own business, it's kind of a little bit of the wild, wild west. So you need to place a lot of faith in the future based upon actions that you build today. And I think that was something that was really, really important with understanding, what is it that I need to do to succeed. And 80% of it, Woody Allen talks about it. It's his famous quote, 80% of life is just about showing up. I've learned at 40 versus who I was when I was 30 versus who I was at 20, that actually, I just need to hang in there. And if you hang in there and keep working hard, at some point you will become successful. And what experience teaches you when you're in there for long enough is that you put in your 1,000 hours to understand what is signal versus what is noise. We mentioned the TikTok thing. There's so much noise online, so much noise. And I think that's been really helpful as I've tried a lot of different things. The volume of experiences that you gain allows you to determine what is signal versus what is noise. And that's what's been really, really useful for me in determining what to do, how to do it, and understanding what's terminal failure versus acceptable failure. And I think that's sometimes something that a lot of people get confused. They see a lot of things as terminal when they're just momentary. Because Jeff Bezos talks about this concept in one of his letters. He says most decisions in life are 2-way doors. People don't realize it. So most decisions you can basically come back from. An example of a 1-way door is having a child. That's kind of a 1-way door. Like you make that decision with intent. But for the most part, most decisions are 2-way doors. So therefore, don't deliberate, just act. Because actually, the information that you need is always on the other side of the decision anyway. So everything else is just conjecture and just projection. So act, observe the outcome, and act without fear, knowing that ultimately it's a two-way door. Can you come back from this? Separate your fear from the actual reality of what's in front of you. And that's been really useful in the building out of a lot of the businesses, because a lot of people will say to me, oh, Dee, so we have 6 operating companies. We do pet relocation. We're relocating 2 dogs from Cape Town to Beijing right now. At the same time, we've just signed TikTok as a client to do B2B lead generation. At the same time, we do property investing for an investment company.
Yeah.
So the thing that undoes most people, in my view, from what I've discovered with success, is people's ability to normalize stress. Because actually, the decisions in front of you are logical. None of the stuff that I do is rocket science. It's all just time management and common sense. Most decisions, 98% of the decisions in life are time management and common sense, right? Unless you're doing physics. You're like, it's not that I'm smarter than you. It's just that under pressure, I can operate more objectively than you. And that's what ultimately the Georgian Special Forces sniper, because I was applying to the SAS in the UK. So I went through the military training program, and it's a concept that they've taken from, I think it's cognitive behavioral therapy, but it's this concept of systematic desensitization. And that's what they train you ultimately in the Navy SEALs and in the SAS. It's repeated exposure to stresses to normalize your behavior under stress. So then you're able to operate under stress in the same manner as you would when you're calm. And that's how you're able then to travel through a lot of decision making, operating in the same way as if you're just taking a walk in the park with your dogs, which I'm about to do after this podcast. So the interesting thing is that my biggest insight for anyone who's thinking about success, I was like, I saw a therapist for 4 years, changed my life. Better than any business book that I read, because most business books, half of success is remembering lessons that you already know anyway.
Yeah.
That you go through most of your life being reminded of the things that you already know, but we don't implement. And all of that is about emotion. It's not about intellect. You, in terms of the level of success that you need intellectually, you can drop out of school at 16, and the lessons that you have learned will take you quite far in life. But the tricky part is managing the monkey mind to be able to focus on the things that matter. And that because a question you'll have coming down the line anyway would be advice for others who are looking to do the same thing. I mean, it's just oversimplification perhaps, but like emotional fortitude as built for me through therapy and being able to manage my emotions and self-regulation of emotions have actually been the foundation upon any success I have today has been built.
I think it actually transitions very nicely into the follow-up question I had for this, which is, as you're developing leaders within Pearl Lemon, and I love that you took the psychological approach as well with that. Patience and facing fears and stress management are all key components of this. What advice would you give to SEO leaders that are listening to this, that are facing the pressures of, an ever-changing environment with SEO and marketing at the moment, that could maybe be that like small key to unlocking, more growth within their teams? How do you, I think, to maybe ask it more practically, how do you sort of motivate your own team leaders to sort of face the challenges of, an ever-changing environment in 2026?
Yeah, sure. So I think that, if you're a SEO leader, you're one of the things I think that people kind of don't separate keenly enough. They kind of conflate. You're always a people manager. So the skill that overlays SEO management is people management. So one must be a great manager of people to then even become a great SEO manager. Because again, surprise, surprise, you're dealing with people's emotions, fears, hopes, and dreams. Because it's not about my ability, Shreya, to teach you how to optimize a meta description. It's about how I can give you the desire to want to learn it for yourself and to be the best that you can be with anything that you do. So that was a great realization for me, that I was able to see exponential leaps and bounds when I switched what I was reading. I don't read, I don't know, more search engine layout. I don't read none of that. I read books on how to manage people and how to recruit, retain, and motivate people. Because my success will be the success of my team. Because if I do my job right, I need to accelerate and elevate the quality, ability, and motivation of those who follow me into the night, because my success will rest upon their desire when it's 5 p.m. and they can't be bothered to, or they can be bothered to really care about the work that they do. So what you must give people is the desire to care. And you won't get that from reading anything to do with SEO. You won't get that necessarily from management frameworks that you can read. You have to understand people's emotions, hopes, dreams, and fears. And you have to give them inspiration and or be inspiring yourself, because people kind of follow and observe those things. So if we then translate that, because for some people, maybe it's a bit esoteric and they want the hack, they want the tactic. It's like, okay, so always show fortitude under stress. Never, you know, we have one of the guys in the team, and you can see when we do a Friday meeting every Friday, we do a round table with the team. So there'll be 50 to 100 of us on the call, and there's a couple of people that speak every week. And there's one guy, he wears his sleeve in through his voice but it's problematic because he's a leader, and he'll open with, oh, you know what, it's been a bit of a difficult week. And when you're in a leadership position, you are in the same position as, to a degree, you're a celebrity within your own business, because people will follow you. And what do they teach celebrities? Half the job is PR. You don't see any celebrity actor or actress bumbling over a microphone when they're going through a crappy divorce or having problems. You find out after the fact when a tabloids, you don't see Julia Roberts or Brad Pitt or Angelina Jolie breaking down and be, oh my God, life is really bad because I had a big argument. So a lot of it is about that. And again, it kind of boils down back to the same part. It's like, manage your emotions, always be confident, communicate confidence, because the buck stops with you. And that's, if that's the path you've taken, then that's ultimately the path you must accept. So I think, more just bigger shoulders for more responsibility. So that's kind of how I look at it.
I love that. Faith,
yeah, I love that. It's really nice to hear you talk about that. It's super fascinating. So my question is kind of that you have so much going on, like, you're running multiple businesses. I know you're really into your fitness, you've got a family, you're doing all of that. And I know you've just said that, it's about common sense and time management, which makes it sound easy, but I bet it's not. So what does that actually look like day to day? Like, how are you that ruthless to make sure that how do you just focus on the stuff that's really important and cut out the rest of the noise?
Yeah, sure. So I think it's a great question. Yeah. So easy is never simple. Again, it's of course something that people can play. It's like, yeah, it's easy to say, difficult to do. And it's a continual practice. So it is something you continually must return to base. So I see a coach twice a week to talk about things that are problematic for me. She's more of a like Valentina. She's been with me 7 years. She's kind of some flip-flops between life coach, business coach, really. And it's an outlet to talk about problems that I face. So there's that. And then practically it's I'm a great believer in the 2-minute rule, meaning that if something can be done in less than 2 minutes, do it immediately. And then do you do it? Do you delegate or do you defer? And if you do it, do you do it within 2 minutes? And then, so a good example will be like, and you can build functions within your team to accelerate ultimately progress. Or to increase the throughput of decision making. So again, a lot of people deliberate over decision making, right? So they think and they want to strategize. And what happens if you increase your volume of experiences, but you add in variety? So most people go through life saying that they've got 10 years of experience, but actually what happens is that they have 1 year of experience times 10. So they do the same thing for the next 9 years and then claim they have 10 years of experience. When it's like, really, your rate of growth is slower than inflation because you've learned in the last 9 years next to nothing, like 0.0%, right? So people will stop learning at some point because what happens is you fall back into muscle memory and routines, which is great to a degree. So what that means fundamentally when it comes to decision making and how you can manage all of it is you need to, when you do a lot of things and in a lot of variety of things, because of the broad scope of experiences, it begins to accelerate your decision making significantly because you have much, much wider exposure to ultimately input than a lot of other people because of all of the things that you've been exposed to and experiences. So you can, it's a little bit like chess. It's like, how many moves down the line can I see than you? Because I've been here before, Faith. I've had an iteration of it because I've read the books, I've done the reading, I've woke up, I've traveled, or whatever it might be. So that's really helpful, which is where then you're able to make decision making. So when time permits, as people are younger, what I've observed that's helped me is that the volume of experience I've had in my 20s turned out to be amazing input neurally for what I did in my 30s, because it was like, oh, I've tried stuff like this before. This is a little bit like when I went backpacking. This is a little bit like when I tried to launch a nightclub party that no one turned up to, called a pajama party. And it was me and just a couple of mates when I was in Lisbon, spending the money from the investors on trying to launch a pajama party when they gave me money for this tech startup. And I was like, oh, I don't want to do that anymore. I'm bored. So it's about that acquiring that volume of experience. I think it helps massively, and you don't have to travel. You can get it through books. So that's kind of been really helpful in how I'm able to just decide something within 2 minutes.
Awesome. I think, so you had mentioned a keyword there, delegation. And when we chatted to a lot of our, clients and guests on this webinar as well, a lot of leaders are struggling with delegation and how to, even master something like that. I think the question is kind of broken out into two parts. And I think the first part being, how do you approach delegation within your own work, and how do you identify team leaders to delegate to? What qualities do you look for to trust them with what you're looking to delegate towards them? If that makes sense.
No, it does. So first of all, I just want to say that finding great people is really, really, really hard. So I think that a lot of founders or a lot of managers can be more ultimately nicer to themselves, for want of a better word, because finding great people is difficult in general. So with that in mind, and there's I forget the name of the author, but the guy who wrote From Good to Great, one of the things he wrote about is that a lot of CEOs will spend 50 to 70% of their time just on hiring. Like a CEO of a company, just on hiring, because it's all about great people. So practically, I think that in terms of I'll transition as we come closer to the close to a lot more tactics now. So we'll just switch. We'll talk tactics. So number one, the way to find great leaders is to increase your volume. If you look at it from a funnel-based perspective, people think of funnels just in terms of leads, but people don't think of funnels in terms of recruitment. If I have 200 applicants versus 20 applicants applying for one position, logically, the overall caliber of applicants will increase, thus making the pool of potential that I get access to better. And also what happens if you generate that knock-on effect is that you can then make the barrier to entry higher, because everyone lowers barrier to entry based upon volume of applicants. You're like, I'll find someone to do this podcast. I can't find anyone. There's this girl though. Okay, let's just take her. And then all of a sudden this is what is very common with, this is not about you, Faith. I think you're wonderful. This is very common part of decision-making though, right? And everyone sees it within organizations. So you can programmatically solve that by saying, right, well, instead of posting on 3 job boards, what if we posted on 30 job boards? That's what we do. And then we have to have a benchmark of at least 400 applications for particular roles before we then look at recruitment. So at a process level, that works, number one. Number two, then I'd say for delegating, you build ability or tests into the recruitment process as well. So that's, one of the things that's quite interesting. If any of you, so when I applied for my bunch of corporate jobs, there's all of these tests that they give where they test you based upon different things for IQ. Small companies don't do it for some reason. When you know why small companies don't do it? Because they don't get enough applications. So it just seems like it's nonsensical. So the irony is, if you have 400 applications, you're not going to interview everybody. So then you just raise your bar. And then, so you get better people immediately. And then internally, when it comes to delegation, you need to determine what the two-way doors are and give them tests where if they fail, it's okay. And it really doesn't matter. So you have to design processes that have inconsequential outcomes to determine those people who can then be given the consequential activities. And programmatically, you need to build in a suite of activities within the team to test that, as well as suites of activities that when you start to go a layer deeper, what inconsequential task can I give to people that could have really, really good outcomes? So once you design processes like that, it's not perfect, but it does mean that you can build a bit of a process, because that's something that I struggle with and I have to solve. I need leaders in every single business with different knowledge of markets, and I need to find a process for it.
Faith, do you want to go next?
I can do, yeah. So I was really curious about, you were saying about the volume of your experience. I love that phrase. And obviously, you must have learned so much in that time. And I guess my question is really, if you had to go back and do it all again, if you had to start over tomorrow, like what are the things that you would do differently?
I think that I would read more. I started really, I'm an English literature major, right? So at university, I was studying Shakespeare, Wordsworth, Dostoevsky, Tolstoy. This was my bread and butter. When it got to, I would say, COVID, the way that I read became intentional. So I read for intake and for depth. And within about a 2-year period, I'd say I read 150, 200 books, all related to business and entrepreneurship and mindset. And the impact that had on my life personally with my wife, Daniela, and the people around me, and the impact that I had on my life professionally with the amount of money that I was making when I had I had a couple of FU months in a row. This is great. Now I'm beginning to get to a stage of some life-changing money here. Books, because I just accelerated, if we take the recruitment example, the amount of information that I was smashing my brain with. But then equally at that same time, I did a reorganization of the people around me. So the things that I would have done differently was I would have read like tons more, but read with an intention to give benefit to my future self. Because, what are the actions you're doing today, Faith? And this is what people don't really think about when they telescope out. What are the actions that Faith today is doing that will be in service of Faith 2.0 in 10 years from now? How can you set yourself up for the future? Because if you've got goals, when we're younger, they're primarily related to ourselves, like me, because that's what you have space for. As you get older, it becomes we, because of course there's more people that you want to take care of. And there's things that you could do now. But yeah, I'd say the differential advantage is reading. So when I decided that I needed to get better at recruitment, I read 10 recruitment books. And immediately I probably launched myself into a top percentile recruiter. Not because I was like, right, I'm going to outlearn people and then I'm going to approach it. And that's what I would really recommend for anyone who's young. Not TikTok shorts, not YouTube shorts, not 15-minute videos. Read with intent, where you have to stop and you have to think about it and you have to play it back and you have to synthesize it. Because people read and they read in the, I'm reading. But, tell me, what do you recall about the book? Oh, well, it's kind of about this. You're like, you didn't learn jack shit. What was the point? So there's reading and then there's reading. Most people are reading, and that's how a lot of us kind of walk through our lives. So that's what I would say is would have been a game changer for me. I wish I read more when I was younger.
I love that. That is absolutely phenomenal advice. Yeah, absolutely love it.
Yeah.
one quick question just to follow up from what you just mentioned now is that you mentioned there was a restructuring within your team after the point of leading. And if you could maybe just quickly let us know, like, what was one thing that you maybe saw in your team that required that restructuring? Maybe I'm asking this for managers or leaders that are looking to restructure their own teams.
Yeah, sure. So first of all, I think that one of the things once I started the journey of reading about recruitment and retaining and developing excellent people, a couple of things came to light. So you don't rely as much on teaching people process. You teach people self-worth, which means, for example, Shreya, I want you to want to do this because I want you to want to be good at all of the things you do. You do this 8 hours a day. Wouldn't it suck to be rubbish at the thing you're meant to spend half of your life doing? Because I think you deserve it for yourself to just be smoking hot at all of the work that you do, so you can be proud of presenting the work that you do to the world. And I just think that it'd be a crying shame if you didn't leave your mark of excellence on every single thing that you touch, because I think that this is just a great way to be in life. So you teach people the value of excellence for the sake of excellence. That led to a transformative change because it's about the mindset switch. Because then it's about all of the value that people drive when you're not watching. How do you get them to be motivated to just want to be great for the sake of being great? So that was one big thing. And then also tying people's ultimately work with their goals. And goals are extrinsic and intrinsic. So there's goals that you have for your own self-identity and worth. So that's the whole be the CEO of your own role and make sure that you give it your best, because if we're here, we should be good. And then you tether it to, why are you here? Like, you've got family that you love. This is part of your career. The work that you do is a difference between $1,000 and $100,000 in a couple of years from now. And the opportunity is now. So that was also something. And what will happen is that those who understand the message will hear it. And those that don't, well, they're probably the wrong people for your organization anyway. So it's also teaching you a lesson, because the best people to have are the people that are self-motivated, and you need to design a process to help them rise, and you need to create tests and processes to find the people that are just self-motivated, because that's just how they're wired. What happens is that a lot of people don't design a process that is really made for that kind of people. If you apply it Pearl Lemon, it's painful. It's painful, because what we are seeking is resilience and persistence, because that's what I want in the people that I work with, because it's very stressful, because we've got 6 different companies going at the same time, and we're a small team and the companies are scaling. So it's stressful and it's fast. So you need to design processes with that in mind. And then you need to do the tests. And the tests are like motivation, who listens and who's like, oh yeah, all right, like, whatever. And you kind of begin to observe, okay, so I've got my A players, because the A players will hear the message, because the people that hear that message, that they've got ambition for what they want for their life. There's a place for everybody, don't get me wrong, but it's really useful intelligence. And that's the thing that I think, certainly in the UK work environment anyway, and any extension of it, we don't do a lot of that. And I think we focus on process, and which is there, and it has its place and it's important, but it begins with finding self-motivated or encouraging people to become self-motivated, and then you pour fuel on the fire. But you have to get the fire going first, because otherwise it's just you're not going to get that's how I've discovered that you can get differential results from the people that you have in your organization.
Absolutely love that. For everyone that has been listening today, I hope you're feeling motivated after this this chat. Deepak, thank you so much for joining. It has honestly been such a high energy, high impact episode. For everyone that is feeling motivated after this, please go follow Dee. We've tagged him in this webinar, and also if it's on YouTube, link is below. Deepak, is there anything else you'd like to shout out while you have your last few seconds?
Guys, if you're listening, the question that Faith asked, I think it was a fantastic one. The one thing that I would do differently is it's easy, but it's not simple. So just read, find the best thinkers, the seminal thinkers, the OGs of different industries, and read. It will change your life.
Absolutely love that. Okay, perfect. To wrap it up, Dee, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you everyone for listening, and Faith, well done on your first webinar. If everyone is listening and enjoyed that, please do follow Dee and have a great weekend. We will catch you in the next episode.
Cheers, guys.